Hey there, Workforce. Chris here.
Brian here.
And today we're going to talk about what we know so far about kind of 4.1 and what we're thinking about Stormblood so far.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and do this thing. So 4.1 should be out or sometime around, I guess, assuming September or October. They said they're going to be on the cadence. One of the big issues with Heaven's Word back in the day was from the expansion to the, 0.1 patch took like forever. Like there was huge amounts of burnout because there wasn't really a lot of content drop. The reason is because Yoshi P wanted to give his team vacation time off, and so the way that he's been able to structure from his leadership position ensures that we should see it in that 3 to 4 month range, which should put us into sometime around September or early October for the first patch. And there's already been stuff that they've kind of revealed to us that we know that is coming in 4.1. Namely, we get a new 24-man raid, Return to Ivalice, which I cannot wait for. Huge fan of Ivalice, and all the new 12 stuff that's been out. It's just got me even more excited to go check it out.
And Shirogane housing.
Yeah, finally, so get ready to save that. You actually don't get ready to save that gil. If you want a house.
Oh, yeah. If anything, you're behind.
Yeah, you need to start saving as much as possible, or make sure you're a free company. You're working towards that goal. Nice thing is that people will be able to transfer over when they buy their land. So land should be opening up with these transfers as well. Mm-hmm. So we're also going to be getting a 24-man roulette. And this is going to be huge, namely because I think we've asked for it. There's been issues why they haven't done it in the past, namely that the Labyrinth of the Ancients, the first phase of Crystal Tower, required 6 tanks. And so they're actually going to be adjusting that down to where it fits in with the 1 tank, 2 healers, 5 DPS as a part of the party for the Alliance. So the roulette there is going to be really important because I think that's going to open up all that content that, well, why do you run it? Well, what is the point right now outside of your book?
And speaking of group content, I keep hearing the terms like Super Savage and could they come up with a harder extreme and all these ideas. Like, what do we kind of know about that?
So it's this is actually really interesting to see because it's one of the things that Final Fantasy has kind of really suffered with, that lack of hard content between the even patches. And every even patch has always increased the gear level and added in the new raid, the new hardest level content. If you think of it though, from 0 to 0.2 to 0.4, that's 6 months. So there is if you think of it, if we're on a cadence of every 3 months, that could be a minimum of 6 to 7 months between that hard content. That what do we want to challenge in here? And so with that, Yoshi P talked about in Stormblood that every odd number patch is also going to introduce some really extreme, some really hard content. And I think, people were thinking it's going to be a new version of the raid, but Yoshi P said they might take one of those bosses out of that. They might make just this huge trial or whatever and take it from that content and allow you to face it. And he said, don't cry and don't complain to me when it's too hard, because everybody keeps saying they want harder and harder and harder content. So that's what's going to be coming in the odd number patches, and that's why, so Super Savage or whatever it ends up being, we should see that in 4.1. And this is huge because it also helps incentivize players who want to be on the top of their game to reach that next level, to be able to have something to do, because all right, before you had to wait.
And I would expect there to be some grind alongside that, because sometimes that draws the same player set. So I would expect to see just what to a casual player would seem painful Anima quests come back.
So Anima we should see, if history holds true, around 4.15. Okay. And so that is part of usually that cycle, and they usually introduce it in the off, kind of that mid patch between that patch. I wish we had a better kind of, cadence for it, but and that's usually introduced them to also then, again, incentivize, have some excitement, and that is also going to be very grindy as well. Now,
they're going to push you into the parts of the game that they feel
need
players first getting in need, but can't find anybody to do it with, and so that kind of pushes that almost mentor class, that elite level player, into casual content. So if they have low level players feeling like, wow, I wish I could do more fates, but there's nobody doing them with me, this is a chance for them to be like, I need you to do 1,000 fates.
Right. So one of the things we do know, and we don't know if it's for 4.1, but it should fall within that cycle, especially if the Anima weapon, whatever the next kind of legendary, is tied to, is that the Lost City or the Lost World of Eureka. It's this whole new zone that's kind of like the Diadem in a way. So we'll see if that kind of relates. No one's really running Diadem right now because of the way that content's set up, but they're supposedly going to be feeding people into that. Whether we see that with 4.1 or at some point, in that period, if we're going to see the next phase of your your relic weapons, then we should see that introduced, because he said that zone is going to have some kind of something to do with your relic weapon, which is important. So we got, we said the Super Savage, we said 4.1, we talked about, we're only going to get one dungeon. And that is, at first, it's disappointing to hear because of how the content we get currently is scheduled.
Right. You're going to be sitting in a roulette playing the same things over and over and over. And when they release stuff and they update tomes, that re-pushes everybody into that. I didn't need roulette, so I hadn't really been doing them unless my friends needed them.
Right.
To now, people are just saying, how many roulettes can I do a week? And
my hope, especially if we only get, because we're going to get 2 dungeons on the even and 1 dungeon on the odd, and so this is an odd. My hope is that they keep the expert roulette filled with all those dungeons. We don't get a separate 70 dungeon roulette. Just keep it as a part of the expert, because the thing that burned me out, it burns everybody out after a couple of weeks, is when you're experting between 2 of those dungeons. Like, just keep that into 1. It can be the expert could always be the new, and like that. That's my opinion, and we'll see if that actually holds true. It'd be weird if they put in an expert roulette with just 1 dungeon.
If they don't want to continue to give us dungeons, then there should be something that adds variety into that. Like, okay, this dungeon, the final boss can be one of 3 bosses, so every time you run it, it's a little bit different. I mean, it's a struggle to sit here and do the exact same content. Be like, oh, there's the same flower, and there's the same pack, and there's the same. And
doing anything over and over again, it's
a grind.
It wears you out, and that's kind of where randomness comes in to add a little variety. But I'm okay with them reducing the amount of dungeons that get introduced in this, because we have tons of them. If that focus ends up being more horizontal type, more options to play with. Like, okay, I can go do dungeons, or I can go do this new kind of content. So no word yet if we're going to see the next version of Palace of the Dead. And it won't be the Palace of the Dead. As they call it, Palace of the Dead is called Deep Dungeon. And with that Deep Dungeon, they're going to introduce new ones. And hopefully, no word yet if that's confirmed for 4.1. But we should see something like that. Now, as PvPers,
there will be a new PvP mode.
Yeah, and that's going to be, they talked about it as larger than Frontlines, but it's going to be 2-teamed, based. And it seems like it's going to be attack and defend.
Yeah, I think it's odd that a game with 4 24-man teams can say, now it's time to have some real multiplayer content.
Yeah, 100 versus 100. I was personally hoping for like kind of like a World v World setup like Guild Wars 2 has and things like that. But I'm actually excited about this kind of concept of this PvP siege mode where you might be attacking, you might be defending, and especially if it's larger teams. Like, Frontlines I felt was huge.
That large is ESO. So to try to gauge, has anybody done anything this kind of big before? ESO has PvP that you're on your mount running for days. If you're not using the teleport system and stuff and different owned points and all that, it takes a long time to cover that map.
Yeah, and the ESOs thing was a lot of fun when you capture those castles and things like that. Yeah. It feels good.
And I think there's a lot of things that Final Fantasy has, a lot of mechanics that could really make a unique take on that. And definitely I think the PvP system, as far as an individual goes, is much more refined here.
So that's what I'm aware of. Obviously we'll see the story continue and, the various kind of common things that we see with every patch cycle. But if you're new to the Final Fantasy world, you can expect these are large content drops. Like, these aren't like, okay, here's just a little bit and here's just a little bit. It ends up being quite a lot to do. There's usually a lot of excitement wrapped up in it, and so if you're just here for the story, you'll love this. If you're here for PvP, there's should be something for everybody in this.
Some adjustments to crafters, additional recipes, things like that.
The hope is that we'll see some Beastman tribes, because
that would be great.
They usually try to introduce one at a time through the patch cycles, so that way. Again, if it holds true, just like it did with Heaven's Word, that we'll see that whether we can go work with the Kojin or whether we can go work for I can't even remember.
There's about 1,000 new mounts I want, so it doesn't matter what they do. I will inherently be excited and disappointed at the same time.
Exactly, man. Have you seen the elephant?
All the new different types of creatures out in the world.
So good.
Everything I see, I'm like,
Can I ride that?
Can I ride that?
Can I ride that?
Can I ride that?
So there's an elephant that's based out like in the peaks and stuff like that, and that's my hope for the. I can't even Lakshmi's their god. They're the snake people. I cannot even remember the term.
I'd ride that giraffe.
You'd ride the giraffe?
Oh, hands down. Hands down.
But that elephant looked amazing. I was like, oh my gosh.
My only bummer with the giraffe is that because I didn't choose a particularly large race and height and all that, is mine would only be a moderately sized giraffe. So it would actually be when I would consider changing my type to something taller so that my mounts would get larger. Nice.
I'm excited. Like, there's obviously stuff that they weren't able to make in for 4.0 or 4.05. So it's that this is going to be stuff that has been been adding in. We know more squadron updates are coming, but we haven't heard about those yet. We know that they're going to be introducing more summoner glamours for the Eggies, but will that come with this patch? Obviously we'll get probably more cards for Triple Triad and all kinds of things. So 4.1 I think is probably going to be really surprising.
Things. You have all the hypotheticals, like one day there'd be Blitzball, one day there'd be... there's all these other things that they could surprise us with along the way.
Exactly. So,
the next big event would be the live event.
Yeah, so that's going to be, we'll be learning more. We're going to be seeing some of that around the 18th of August, 18th or 19th, namely because it's going to be the anniversary of Final Fantasy XIV's relaunch. And with that anniversary, they usually do a 14-hour live stream. They're going to do live letters. There's going to be tons of information they show off and that they drop during those. And then there's also going to be an in-game event, The Rising, that if you guys haven't participated in yet, I'd highly encourage you to make sure you do. You usually get emotes with it, things like that. And then also, if it holds true, they'll take you into the developers room in game, and that's where Yoshi P himself is a character, and you can interact with him and with some of the developers, which is, I think, it's a huge throwback to past Final Fantasies where you could find the developers room as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, for Work to Game, my name's Brian.
My name's Chris.
Thanks so much for watching this video. We hope to see you in our next, and we hope that you're enjoying Stormblood as much as we are. Stay tuned for obviously more Stormblood and other related content, and also look forward to 4.1. As soon as there's rock solid information about what we're getting, we'll be sure to cover it here on the channel.
Let us know what you're thinking in the comments down below.
What are you most excited about? Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click over here to see more videos just like it, or you should click down here to check out our recent vlog. But you can also click somewhere down here below to hit the subscribe button, as well as check out our other info. Again, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.